We got a big battle in front of us, baby. And it's just starting. So let's get funky like a monkey. For 16 years, the American dream has done it with you. Don't fail me now. No, don't fail me now.
All right. The Wrestlebros are back. Captain Lou punching his camera. Fake Blaze. Gonna talk a little Money in the Bank. Live Sunday, July 18th on Peacock.
In WWE Network for all of our fans outside of the United States of America.
In the Dickies Arena, yeah. In Fort Worth, Texas.
Fort Worth, Texas. Shout out to the people there at the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Hopefully we got some fans out there. It's a nice part of the country.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fans, right?
Yeah, man.
So that's good. All right. What do you want to start with? How about we go with what's probably gonna be the main event?
Right from the top, brother. We'll go way down.
All right. The Universal Championship is on the line as Roman Reigns takes on the Rated R Superstars.
Superstar!
All right. What's
Edge.
we have a little bit of a psycho Edge. It's weird to see this matchup, even though I do want to see this matchup, and it makes sense kind of to do this matchup. But what doesn't make sense is the WrestleMania finish. Now that they're doing this matchup, do you remember the finish?
Yeah. Roman Reigns used the chair on both Edge and Daniel Bryan, stacked them one on top of the other. 1, 2, 3.
He stacked both of them.
Stacked them up like two sacks of garbage right on top of each other.
Two sacks of garbage, or like a little sandwich, a little wrestler sandwich, and then he ate the sandwich.
That's right. That's right.
It was
established dominance.
Yes. It looked like, yeah. That's as dominant as you can look at the end of a match. Even though the match, he didn't dominate the match.
No, he did
but
not.
the last thing you remember, the only thing I remember is the final image, which is both guys being stacked on top of each other and him looking like a monster, like he just murdered them.
And that's exactly the correct impression that you should have with Roman Reigns, because of the fact that you're building Roman Reigns for I'm presuming the ultimate main event match that the WWE wants to book at WrestleMania versus The Rock, which, you know, if it's hopefully we'll be seeing that come in WrestleMania next year. But you know, that was the correct finish. There was no other way for that match to end, because with all due respect to Daniel Bryan and Edge, to lose like that doesn't necessarily kill them, especially because you didn't see them for a while. I know Daniel Bryan wrestled against Roman Reigns on television, I don't know, a month, 6 weeks later, whatever it was, in that tremendous match they had on SmackDown. Daniel Bryan lost. We haven't seen him since. I know that he's technically a free agent at this point. I don't know what his contract status is with the WWE or with anybody else, but wherever he ends up is going to be, you know, good for that promotion's business. But in this particular case with Edge, I like the idea that Edge snapped, because obviously Edge was hot about the fact, in storyline, Edge was hot about the fact that Daniel Bryan was inserted into his WrestleMania match to begin with, and Edge was already kind of sort of, you know, losing it and snapping at that point. Then after Roman Reigns, you know, did the deed at WrestleMania and left them laying, and we hadn't seen Edge on TV in many months. And then when Edge reappeared, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, that he reappeared on WWE television, it's good to see that what he's doing is that you can tell that all he wants, he's like in that psycho space kind of thing, and he's calling Roman Reigns out. and Roman Reigns is realizing that this dude is snapped, and Roman Reigns is obviously being, a heel in this case, and the fact that he's just basically feeding his cousins to Edge, and apparently now Rey and Dominic Mysterio, because they're weaving in that storyline from when Roman Reigns, laid out both the Mysterios and left them laying, and that was probably 5 weeks ago on SmackDown. So it makes sense. I think that this week coming up on SmackDown, I think the main event is going to be a 6-man match. So we'll see what happens there. Because again, with this match, I like the idea of having this match, because I think that Edge versus Roman Reigns in a one-on-one scenario is going to be good. Probably great, quite frankly. But it's a matter of you need to give opponents to Roman Reigns, and you need to give opponents to where it's not a foregone conclusion as to who's going to go over. Do I believe that Roman Reigns will win in the end? The answer is yes. But it's not a foregone conclusion. Whereas in a lot of matches, I can say that Roman Reigns is going to win. It's just a matter of how he's going to win. Versus in this case, I have a little bit of doubt, which is a good thing, because at least when I watch the match, I can see it and be like, well, if Edge comes through, it's a matter of how he does it. So that's where the the good television portion is coming in the fact that they're really building Edge up to look like a monster that can probably slay this beast, known as Roman Reigns. So let's see what happens moving forward, and next weekend.
All right. Yeah, I think Roman's gonna win this match. It should be good to great. It's probably gonna be great. Yeah. I'd find it very difficult. Like, for some reason, this wasn't great. I'm sure they're gonna get plenty of time to do their thing.
30 minutes at the very least.
They've had plenty of time to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see this match going any less than 30 minutes.
You know what happens a lot though with WWE matches? Terrible finishes. Like the worst possible finishes you can have.
I'm not. I don't know if I agree with. I don't know if I agree with that as a general rule. Sometimes yes, they do give bad finishes, but not always.
Big matches, they have terrible finishes a lot of the time because they don't want to pin people, and they end up doing weird, screwy double disqualification in no disqualification matches.
Yeah,
throw the match out.
I've seen it with like Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair, things like that.
Yeah, they don't want to pin people, and they.
Listen, in all honesty, in those kinds of situations, the no contest is actually a fantastic finish to use. However, the reason why I can understand your position about why you feel that it's a lousy finish is because of the fact that the match shouldn't have been booked. You should not book the matches unless you're willing to commit to some kind of a finish. And sometimes what you do is that you try to progress a storyline and you have a match on television prematurely as a means to continue the storyline, and the no contest becomes, what I think is actually a necessary booking crutch to get out of it. But at times, I understand your point of view. If you're going to use it, if that's something that you're going to do, you got to do it very sparingly. And when you do it, it's got to be something that will progress a story forward. But when you see the same participants over and over and over again competing against each other, then those kinds of finishes can seem a little flat. So I understand where you're coming from.
Yes, that's my thing. I don't have a problem with these types of finishes. Just like I don't have a problem with a triple threat match. Just like, there's plenty of things I don't have a problem with. But WWE, what they do is they use it 100 times a year instead of 2 times a year, the way it would probably be better suited, So that's the problem. It's like every single time they're afraid to pin somebody. They have to go to one of these weird things. Hey, you want to hear a spoiler for this Ring of Honor show?
Sure.
Somebody just made their, I guess, debut.
And
Chelsea Green.
Okay, now is she coming out as a wrestler, as a valet?
She is a wrestler. I'm sure she's going to be a wrestler. Well, you probably asked that because it feels like Ring of Honor doesn't really have much of a women's division, right?
No, it's just because of the fact that prior to us recording, we were talking about the match that was showing, or that you were watching, with the Red Titus, and I was
that match finished, and now it looks like they're gonna have some sort of tournament, a women's championship tournament.
Okay.
And then she came out, so it looks like they probably signed a bunch of girls. Who knows?
I'll tell you what. And it's kind of a bit of a side note. I think that for Chelsea Green, that's actually a very good thing. It's a good thing for her to go to Ring of Honor. One is, again, with Impact Wrestling, it's basically a retread. She was already there. That was her previous home prior to going to the WWE. And unfortunately, in WWE, injuries, and primarily injuries, were the things that kind of, she was just like start and stop, and she never got going in the WWE. And I think in AEW they have a lot of females on that roster. No matter how I might feel about them, but I think that probably for Chelsea Green, that may have been the best choice for her. And again, the reason why a lot of times with Ring of Honor, Ring of Honor actually has very, very good wrestling. The problem is that they have lousy distribution, and there's a vast audience that unfortunately Ring of Honor doesn't reach because they just don't have the distribution to get them, and that's unfortunate because they have a lot of talented people there at Ring of Honor.
All right, Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. The Raw Women's Championship.
Again.
Look, it's so crazy that I was begging for this match since they had their WrestleMania match. And I really don't want to even see them. WWE's not ready for this match. They're not ready to book this. The nothing is in place. The story is not ready. The characters are not ready for this story. It's like nothing makes any sense. I hate them both right now, by the way, as characters. Completely hate them. Have no one to root for.
Goodness.
And what sucks is that they're both really good wrestlers, so they can probably have a great match. And I don't want to see the match. It's going to be my bathroom break match.
Wow.
Not because it's not going to be good. I'm sure it'll be okay, but I do not care. I don't care one bit about Charlotte right now, and I don't care about Rhea. I don't care about this feud. I don't care who wins. I don't care who loses. I don't care about this storyline moving forward. So I guess whoever wrote the story, thank you for that.
Well, that's an unfortunate take, but I mean, listen, my issue that I've had with this from the beginning, again, it's a lot, and I understand a lot of it is circumstantial, because I'm sure that the original plan was not to have Rhea Ripley debut the way she did, calling out Asuka when she was the women's champion and beating Asuka at WrestleMania. Because again, Asuka, perennial babyface, Rhea Ripley shows up, and to somebody who has not seen Rhea Ripley prior on NXT would think she is the heel. And with very little fanfare, the intro fell flat. She basically just showed up and challenged the women's champion. And of course, the logic of that makes no sense. If you've never watched NXT and you watch Raw and you're like, who is this person? And if she just gets to show up and challenge the women's champion, then that basically means either she's the baddest woman in pro wrestling, or the women's title doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot. That's where the logic can kind of take you. I'm sure that in a more ideal setting, Charlotte Flair would have wrestled Asuka at WrestleMania, beaten Asuka at WrestleMania, and Charlotte Flair would have been the champion, and then have Rhea Ripley introduced to the Raw roster after WrestleMania and chasing the title and chasing after Charlotte, because then Charlotte has been presented as a, she's a perennial performer in the WWE, and she is a fantastic heel. If she's the heel champion, then you can clearly position Rhea Ripley as a babyface, although her look may tell you different. But if she's chasing after Charlotte Flair and chasing after the championship, then you can understand why Rhea Ripley would be the babyface. But all the things that have gone on in this particular story that they've been telling over the last several months has not been very good. It just has not. And unfortunately, what it's done is that it's taken a match that was one of the show stealers of WrestleMania 36, and have basically now dwindled it down to where you have probably two of the best female wrestlers in the world being paired up for one of WWE's women's championships. And we're kind of looking at it and saying, like, yeah, so what? And it has nothing to do with the wrestlers. The wrestlers are fantastic. It's just that this particular story just has not been told very well. And it sucks to say that, because they're both fantastic. And if you're able to tell this in a more traditional sense, you'd be making a ton of money. But in order to tell that story, you got to get the belt off of Rhea Ripley and put it on Charlotte Flair. And the problem was that the way to do that was never have Rhea Ripley win the title to begin with. As much as it sucks to say this, Asuka could have, they could have gone without the Raw Women's Championship match at WrestleMania. Guess what? No one was going to cry, except maybe Asuka. But it is what it is. And I understand a lot of it is circumstantial, and there's a whole lot of stories around that. But the unfortunate thing is that we're getting this match, and unfortunately, it's a match that I want to say that I want to see the match, but under the circumstances, I don't care for the story, and it makes the match less appealing to watch because of it.
All right, WWE Championship. Bobby Lashley versus Kofi Kingston. I like that they're doing this. I'm okay with it. I think you need these types of opponents. I don't want Kofi to win. I know a lot of people want Kofi to win. I don't want him to win.
No.
I'm a Kofi fan.
I love
but
Kofi.
Not enough of a fan that I want to see him as world champion. I'd rather see Xavier get that, since Kofi already had his moment. I just think Kofi physically is past his prime, and usually that's not a big deal. But with him, you can see it. Like the way he looks like he lost 30 pounds in the last, 5-6 years. And that's probably better for his health.
He's lost all of his size.
Yeah, he's lost a shit ton of muscle, which is fine. I'm just saying, I like to see people win the championship when they're at their peak, physically, or at least close to it. I'm okay with him winning the tag team titles 20 times with Xavier. Totally cool with that. I'm totally cool with him every now and then being thrown into a main event story. Totally cool with that. He has the promos to back it up, especially recently. You get him the right opponents, and he can challenge every now and then. The fans love him. He can come close. He's already won it, though, so I don't need to see this story again. I'd rather Bobby hold it. Unless you find someone better to take it off of him. Drew should probably do it eventually. Not soon. I'd rather, down the road. But it definitely shouldn't be Kofi. keep Lashley strong until there's someone that could benefit from beating Lashley. So.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I love Kofi Kingston. He's great, and I have grown to love the New Day. I've grown to love him. In the beginning, though, I didn't like him at all. But over the years, I've grown to love the act and love the New Day as a group. When I see this match, the first thing that I think in my mind is, it's messed up to say this, but I'm almost wanting to ask, like, why? Because it seems like this is a story where, and I know that the WWE did tell a story about how Kofi Kingston, he beat Bobby Lashley, although with the help of Drew McIntyre. Then, Kofi and McIntyre wrestled one-on-one. McIntyre beat Kofi, but now that Drew got beat by Lashley and he's essentially out of the title picture, well, you need to get another opponent so you can insert Kofi Kingston into that. And again, and I know that I've said this already in previous episodes about why I am, why it bothers me so much that the Hurt Business is no more. Because for a guy like Kofi Kingston to be able to have more positive babyface heat on himself going into a match against Bobby Lashley, you can't get that heat on Lashley. Because first of all, when you see them standing next to each other, the physical disparity is ridiculous. I mean, Bobby Lashley's 6'4", 260 pounds, solid muscle. Kofi Kingston is probably 6 feet tall and probably goes about $180 at this point. I mean, he looks small. And I remember 10 years ago when Kofi Kingston was jacked up, and he probably went about 215, 220 pounds, and he looked good physically. And now it's like he looks very small. And, when I see him working against Lashley, it's just like, no. If you're going to get your heat, this is where you get it on Cedric Alexander, you get it on Shelton Benjamin, you even get it on MVP, but you don't physically touch MVP, you just embarrass him. Because again, you don't want to put your hands on MVP, because MVP is the mouthpiece. And you always want MVP to be able to cut his promos and sound believable. The only time that you were to get your hands on MVP would be during the go home, where Bobby Lashley's trying to get his hands on you. You get out of the way, Lashley makes a mistake and, ends up getting tossed out to the ring. And you might nail MVP once just to kind of let him know, and then from there you move on. The problem is that the heels, which are Lashley and MVP, they got all their heat by beating up Xavier Woods. And when they had the Hell in the Cell match with Woods, no disrespect here, because Xavier Woods is a fantastic talent, but that was ridiculous to put Xavier Woods versus Bobby Lashley for the WWE title the day after Bobby Lashley beat Drew McIntyre. Because you're not telling me that Bobby Lashley's a tough dude. I already know that. What you're telling me is that the Hell in the Cell match is no big deal if he's able to do it 2 nights in a row. That's just that you're basically killing the gimmick of the Hell in the Cell match. And in all honesty, Xavier Woods does not deserve a one-on-one match for the WWE title, because all his tag team accolades are fantastic. But he's never been presented as a top single star. And that's something that needed to be understood. But that withstanding. Now we have this match, and I'm thinking to myself, it's a foregone conclusion. I already know that Bobby Lashley's going to win. And as much as I love Kofi Kingston, this isn't a match I want to see. And one of the biggest problems that WWE is running into right now with Bobby Lashley, unfortunately, is that I don't want to say that his run is getting a little bit stale, but the problem is that they need to have more credible challengers. And I'm talking about physically more credible. Kofi Kingston is going to give Lashley a hell of a match. I know that he is. But it feels like it's a foregone conclusion that Bobby Lashley is going to end up beating Kofi Kingston. He's going to put him in the hurt lock. He's going to have him pass out because Kofi's not going to tap. And Lashley's just gonna pass out. Kofi Kingston will in the hurt lock. And then we say next. And then with the Money in the Bank, unless it's Drew McIntyre who wins, who the hell else in the field that they currently have? And I'll let you run that down for me because I don't know it off the top of my head. But then what? Then what? And that's not good.
I mean, I think you can always find opponents. I think that's why Kofi's here. And like I said, I don't mind it. I think there's a lot of ways to get title shots, right? In wrestling.
Absolutely.
So I'm okay with Kofi getting a shot. Just to keep Bobby's run interesting. He needs opponents, and yeah, they need to find another opponent. I don't think it's going to be the Money in the Bank winner. I think whoever wins is probably going to take their time with it. I hope they take their time with it. But looking at the field, you're probably right. It's probably going to be Drew, and Drew's probably going to call him out for the next pay-per-view or SummerSlam. I'm going to assume Drew's going to win. That's my prediction, and he'll call Bobby out for SummerSlam, and he'll win the title at SummerSlam.
Now, okay, before we go to the Money in the Bank.
Go ahead.
Before we go to the Money in the Bank,
yep.
And this is a little bit of a side note because I know that we're talking about the New Day. I know with the WWE they had their, they called out their top 50 tag teams of all time, and they had the New Day as number 1.
Mm-hmm.
You all right with that?
I don't know. I'd have to do a bunch of research. If it's WWE's number 1, right? Not the best. Like, to me, the Dudleys are probably my number 1 all-time tag team, but that's because of everything they've done, right? In every company. So it's harder when you say WWE. I got to really sit down and think and go, okay, who really killed it? All right, Edge and Christian and the Dudleys and the Hardys, and then people before that, the Hart Foundation and
the golden era of WWE's tag team in the 1980s.
But
that was the golden era.
The golden era is that the great tag teams would eventually split up, and they wouldn't have the type of runs that the New Day had. Like,
absolutely not. That's true.
New Day has had a thick run, and even if there's teams that were maybe a little bit better or had in a short period of time. Maybe you take the Hart Foundation's best year and put it up against the New Day's best year. Maybe the Hart Foundation has a better year, or whatever. LOD's best year, or Demolition's best year, or whoever's best year, Hardy's best year, and maybe New Day can't find a year to match up, but New Day consistently, since they got together probably 3 months or 4 months after they got together, once they went heel. That run is insane. It's long. It's main event after main event after main event. It's great matches after great matches after great matches. They're like everyone's top rival. They're like the Usos' top rival. If the Bar, like all these, like whatever. There weren't that many tag teams though to work with, but it's like every year you get a tag team that besides the Usos, who were pretty consistent. And you look at the stats of tag team matches, and one New Day member is like everyone's most matches. Like you look at the Usos, it's definitely like a New Day member, and Cesaro's most matches is like with Kofi because of Cesaro's been like in 3 or 14, and Cesaro gets those teams over. Like those teams eventually get over, and then they're feuding against the New Day. So I don't know. New Day's not my favorite tag team of all time, but I do see they're like a main event act. You know, they've been. I went. I forgot which rated WrestleMania it was, but it was just nothing but New Day chants. Like there was no other chants except New Day and Cena. Let's go, Cena. Cena sucks, and New Day rocks. New Day rocks. The whole damn building, like all day, online, waiting, you know, by the concessions, just everything was New Day, New Day, New Day. And to see a tag team get over like that in modern wrestling in WWE is crazy. So it'd be nice to sit down. Maybe we can figure out a time to try to figure that out. That'd be super difficult to do. But it's definitely hard to argue against the New Day for their run. It's a crazy run.
You know, I mean, listen, in my opinion, should New Day be number one? The answer is no. No, not at all. Now, what ends up happening is that, you know, fans are looking at the New Day and see them as a team that has been together for probably about 7 or 8 years now. In some shape, form, or fashion, you know, whether they were heels doing the Freebird rule or baby faces or whatever have you, and you know they all work together. It, you know, for the longevity's sake, you can say, yeah, it's all great and good. But when I think of, you know, best tag teams in the history of the WWE, the New Day don't come into my head necessarily. Yes, they've been around for a very long time, and yes, they've had good matches, great matches they've had, but those teams don't come to mind. You know, like the New Day, you know, I think of like the Hart Foundation, the British Bulldogs, the Rockers, Demolition, the Road Warriors. Even though they, you know, the Legion of Doom, they were only there for, Jesus, a year and a half. You know, but there are teams that were there in the WWF in the 80s and the early 90s. That yes, their runs were shorter, but they were a hell of a lot more memorable. And I think that's one of the reasons why when I see the New Day, it kind of rubs me a little bit the wrong way. And it's not any disrespect to Kofi, Woods, or Big E, because they're fantastic talents, all three of them. It's just, and as a trio, I mean, you know, they got this gimmick over in a way that I didn't think they would be when they first started. And you know, they probably, along with the Usos, are probably the stalwarts of WWE's tag team division, you know, over the last decade, and that's nothing to sneeze at. So for that, I give them a lot of credit and a lot of props. But I don't see them being number one. But you know, that's, you know, it was just a question to ask because I know it was a sidetrack, because I know we were talking about the New Day, but yeah, we'll talk about that at a later date in more in depth. You know, we'll look at the tag teams and then we'll kind of see how they all pan out. But I just wanted to say, for the record, New Day would not be my number one tag team in WWE history. They would not.
All right.
Anyway, next.
Now we can go to that ladder match, Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank, brother. Money in the Bank.
All right. Here are the participants: Ricochet, John Morrison, Matt Riddle, or just Riddle, Drew McIntyre, Big E, Kevin Owens, King Nakamura. You know, it's funny. I had that idea when he first debuted that he should be King Nakamura.
So you know what? You got to get your royalty check from the WWE.
I'm gonna call him up. Say, what the hell is going on? You wait until the guy is no longer over, and then you make him King Nakamura. When you gotta
call that 203 number. Make it work.
So we got Seth Rollins, by the way. So it's pretty stacked, at least.
Yes, it is.
It's either like crazy athletes, or you know, some big names, potential names here. Seth Rollins can definitely win this.
I can already tell you who's not going to win. We can eliminate Ricochet. We can eliminate John Morrison. Right off the top. We can eliminate.
But Morrison and Ricochet are here to make the match as crazy as possible because
they're there for
they're
the
the
crazy high
psychos.
spots. They're there for the crazy they're there for the acrobatics of it.
Yes, they're gonna add the acrobatic. Riddle will add some acrobatics too. It's interesting. It's always interesting when you're putting together multi-man matches like this, and there's a big prize on the line because it's like, how do you get the right people involved so that the prize seems important enough, right? Because too many times you'll have a bunch of mid-carders in a match that there's a giant prize, whatever. And then there's a bunch of names that are bigger or better that aren't in the match, and they're just having random feuds on the side. That's why it's not good to have a Money in the Bank pay-per-view, even though it's a really good pay-per-view normally. It's not good to back yourself into a corner because realistically, what you would want to do is put your feuds on hold because this match should be more important, than feuds and whatever. It should be your top 6 to 8 contenders, legit contenders, and then it's a match. You win without having to pin anyone. That's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to have big names lose, and they can always say, well, I didn't get pinned, so it's like, I didn't tap out, I didn't get pinned. You can you can beat a big name and it doesn't hurt them at all.
I mean, listen, if you got 10 guys in the match and there can only be one winner and there are no pins, no submissions, and the gimmick is, climb the ladder and grab a briefcase. I mean, the gimmick is not bad. It's just a matter that it shouldn't get its own pay-per-view. I've said this a zillion times. This and the Hell in the Cell pay-per-views have no business being on the WWE.
Any match besides the Royal Rumble. That's the only match that probably should have its own pay-per-view.
Yes.
Because it's tradition and it makes sense. And it works out. It works out nicely. Yes. So, and everyone knows what it is. It's like every guy or girl, is in the match, unless you're in the main event or, you already have a match for the most part. It's like you're in the match. So it's not that crazy. You're not leaving the wrong people out. It's like it makes sense. But in the Money in the Bank, it's a little tricky. You got to be very careful. So far, though, based on the matches announced, there is, there's only the 2 matches for the men for the titles. And then you have this match. So it's not like there's somebody else working who should be in this match, who isn't. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it like when I see the field that's in this match, I've already said that Ricochet and Morrison, forget about them. They're not winning this match. Drew McIntyre should not win this match. Should not. With all due respect, I've kind of had enough of Drew McIntyre in the main event at this point. And it's not that I don't want to see him there. It's just that if he keeps losing to Bobby Lashley, are you going to use the Money in the Bank to move him over to SmackDown and give him reasons to fight Roman Reigns? Okay, fine. Right now, it looks like on paper, the guy who should probably win is Seth Rollins. Now, and if WWE had done a better job of building this guy up, I would have put the briefcase on Big E. But WWE have not, the start and stop deal with him, and then the feud that he had with Apollo Crews, which, although they produced good matches and they introduced Dabba-Kato as, Colonel Aziz or Commander Aziz or whatever name he goes by now, it's a good introduction to get heat on Apollo Crews having a henchman and all that with him. But for Big E, unfortunately, it didn't do anything to elevate him to the next level where he could then use the briefcase as a means to chase after Roman Reigns and have another opponent chasing behind him. Because at that point, he'd probably be dealing with Big E. He'd be dealing with Edge. He'll probably be dealing with Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio in some some side hustle type thing. He'd be dealing with them. So you'd have you'd have a nice little line of opponents for Roman Reigns to keep him busy in between, the big star matches. But unfortunately, they haven't done that. Kevin Owens is always in the mix, but giving him the briefcase, we've already seen it. We've seen him fight Roman Reigns several times, and although all 3 matches were great, well, the Royal Rumble match wasn't great, but all the other ones were. You don't want to see that again, and if he works with Lashley, ain't gonna be no difference. It'll still be, good effort, but he'll still lose. Then you look at Nakamura, and with all due respect, is Shinsuke Nakamura, since coming out of NXT, it almost seems like WWE really exposes his really outgoing personality, because he's got a lot of personality, but they've almost booked it to be comedic. And again, funny ain't money. In the end, if you want to be a top main event star, comedy act, not happening. As great as Nakamura is, but he'll be in the match, and this is a high profile match for Nakamura because it's the first time in a long time that he's been in a high profile match in a WWE pay-per-view. So that's a very positive thing, because I know that they've done a lot with him and his new henchman, the guy that plays the guitar and all that to the ring. And I know they've been working with Baron Corbin, and they've been telling this story with taking the crown off of Corbin and essentially embarrassing him, humiliating Corbin.
Isn't that weird though? Because Nakamura's supposed to be the babyface, but all he does is bully Corbin every week.
Well, but that's the point. The point is that eventually, you're going to turn Corbin babyface by doing that. Especially if Corbin has no response, unless Corbin comes back and rediscovers something different about himself and just lays people out. Fine. I would not turn Corbin babyface and Nakamura heel. I would not either. But what I'm saying
is so stupid.
I wouldn't either. But what I'm saying is, when you see the story, that's what it's looking like.
I don't know if that's intentional. I think they want to change Corbin's character. I don't know if they want to make him babyface. There is the rumor of Happy Corbin, which to me, the name Happy Corbin tells me heel. It tells me fake happy. It tells me
stupid.
Yes, stupid name. That's a
bad name. But let's get off of that. But I'm just saying that at the end of the day, all the names that they have, this seems like a stacked field. But the way that they have been booked, the way that these guys have all been presented, it seems like the only 2 logical options are the 2 options that shouldn't win. And that's Drew McIntyre or Seth Rollins. And neither guy, and the thing is, McIntyre shouldn't win this match because, again, McIntyre as a babyface needs to be forced to overcome more. He has to get screwed over so that we can get some kind of new direction to gracefully move McIntyre out of the championship picture and work his way back. And then whoever wins, if it's going to be a heel, which it kind of sucks because right now both champions are heels. So to have a heel win doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense.
Well, to me, it always makes sense to have the heel win. The heel doesn't have to cash in for a year anyway. Also, it's fine because the heel doesn't even need to have a match, right? Correct. The heel comes in after a match, steals the title.
But I got you. But that's been WWE's MO with this for a long time, with a few exceptions. But it's been mostly that heels that win and they cash it in on the champion in the most inopportune moment for the champion after having fought 20 guys, whatever, and then the guy comes out the briefcase and just hands it over when the guy is like, damn near dying in the middle of the ring. It would be nice to have a babyface win, and then the babyface, you build the babyface with the briefcase. not Otis, not comedy Otis when he won it last year. I'm talking about, like, again, with Big E, someone like him. This might be the opportunity to elevate Big E to the next level. It's just a matter that I don't think that the prerequisite work has been completed yet to make it convincing. I would like to see him win, but I don't think he will.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to see him win. And if you think about the random number, 20 times that the heel has cashed in and, did the heelish thing, cashed in at an opportune time, steals the title, versus the 6 times that a babyface won it. It's night
They
and
do
day.
the same thing. I mean, with the exception of Rob Van Dam, all the baby faces have done the same thing. They attacked the heel champion after another baby face beat them up.
I mean, I'd have to look at it. There's also the times that the it doesn't get cashed in, or they lose the opportunity, or they lose. They've been doing a lot of nonsense at, like, recent history, like as far as like last couple years. I know it's been weird, but
last decade they've been doing a lot of nonsensical things.
No, because the Rollins one was great.
Yes, that was good. That was fantastic, actually.
I mean,
that's
a whole video in itself, trying to figure out every cash in and talk about which ones were good and which ones were great. Or a lot of them to me were good, though. A lot of the cash ins, but recently I feel like they don't know what to do and they're trying to be different.
Part of the reason why that happens is because they put the briefcase on people that shouldn't have it. Last year, when it went from Otis, which was ridiculous, to The Miz, which was ridiculous. It's like, again, if you're gonna put the Money in the Bank briefcase on somebody, it has to be somebody who is already being elevated to that next level and who the fans are buying into. And I know that last year during the pandemic year, you're not getting crowd reactions, you're not getting any of that stuff. So, hey, let's try something different. But nobody was taking Otis seriously. That was just, especially with Otis's gimmick back then, it was just stupid comedy. He was a cartoon character come to life. And when you saw that, you just collectively groaned because it's like, come on, give me a break. Like, seriously, it's just like, come on. When he lost it to The Miz, I'm like, well, yeah, The Miz is a step up, but he ain't winning the title. He did. He won the title, but just silly. Again, they could have done without that cash in with The Miz on Drew McIntyre. Miz could have came out after Drew McIntyre won the Elimination Chamber match, and McIntyre would have beaten him too. And then you gracefully move The Miz on. And then anyway, I've already said this a million times. I'm not gonna go through it again. But the problem has been is that WWE's done a poor job with the briefcase because they put it on people that shouldn't have no business having it.
Okay. Let's mention Bianca Belair versus Bayley was supposed to happen, and it was supposed to be a night quit match, and it probably would have been awesome.
Yep.
But Bayley's injured, so she's out 9 months, right?
Life happens, pal.
That's what they're saying. 9 months, all right.
It's about 9 months to torn ACL. This happened apparently in the Performance Center while she was training. Which is real. I mean, again, it's really, really unfortunate. As I said during our WrestleMania recap, when Bianca Belair won the title, and I remember saying that Bianca Belair looked incredible winning the match and working against Sasha Banks, and every note that they needed to hit to tell the story, they did it. And they actually subsequently this past weekend won an ESPY award for ESPN, the Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks for WWE Moment of the Year for their match at WrestleMania, and it's well deserved. But the issue is that I looked at Bianca Belair and said, the thing is that you're not going to be able to work with Sasha Banks all the time. And although Bianca Belair won the title and Bianca Belair was put over and Bianca Belair looked like $1 million coming out of WrestleMania, but Bianca Belair was still gonna have to prove herself and still continue to get over as the champion. Working with Bayley is the perfect opponent to have because of the fact that Bayley is a fantastic worker. She's got her gimmick down pat. The audience loves her, whether they love her cheering her or love to hate her, but Bayley's got the crowd. And she knows exactly what she needs to do to continue helping Bianca Belair on her quest to becoming a top tier megastar on WWE television. Although she's the champion, she's not there yet. And with Bayley's injury, that's going to bring a tremendous monkey wrench, because I know that this week on SmackDown, they're going to have Bianca Belair defend the title against Carmella. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad that it's not on pay-per-view because it's not a pay-per-view match. It's a good television match. Fine to have Bianca Belair defend the title against Carmella, but I'm not expecting any major development coming out of that match. What ends up happening is that I feel that to a certain degree, this kind of forces, and I hope WWE doesn't do this, but I almost feel like WWE might feel compelled to either rush Sasha Banks back, or if Becky Lynch is going to make a return, she'll come back on SmackDown and challenge Bianca Belair, which is the wrong thing to do, because then essentially Bianca Belair by proxy is the heel, because the fans are not going to boo Becky Lynch. If Becky Lynch is going to return, Becky Lynch should return against the heel. Some established heel that, starts chirping too much and she shows up. And again, Bayley would have been the perfect foil, but unfortunately Bayley's not available now. So yeah, I'm concerned because of the fact that, again, we wish Bayley well, because these injuries, although I'm fully hopeful and aware that Bayley will be back in that 9-month time frame, but my concern is that I'm a little concerned for Bianca Belair in terms of how this might affect her run, because she really needs to work with people on this level in order to get herself over to the next level above where she is right now. So it's a bummer all the way around, because I think that this would have been a good match. Again, I think that this I Quit match, following up from the cage match, the Hell in the Cell match they had, seems a little ridiculous. If we didn't have the cage match and we would have had just a conventional match at the Hell in the Cell pay-per-view, this match would have made more sense, but it's a moot point now with Bayley's injury. And again, we wish her well, but I kind of feel bad for both parties, because I think that for Bianca Belair's sake, I think that she really needed to continue working with Bayley, and now Bayley's not available. So, let's see what happens.
Yeah. Well, real quick, there's been some additions, like with the SmackDown roster. So let's go do this roster now.
Are we going to talk about the women's Money in the Bank?
We are going to talk about the match after this, yeah.
Okay. All right.
I just want to get a better idea of what's going on in SmackDown on SmackDown.
Okay, let's go for it.
All right. So of course, Bayley's injured, but you have Bianca Belair, who's the champ. All right. You have Carmella, Liv Morgan, which I really need to talk about. Natty. You have Reckoning, who should no longer be Reckoning. I don't know why
be Mia Yim.
I don't know why we're sticking with that. You have Sasha, eventually. You have Shotzi, no longer Shotzi Blackheart, which is fine. Shotzi's fine. I tell you what, it's not fine though.
I don't understand why they anyway.
Well, I don't know why they do that. Why they
this whole one name deal. Shotzi Blackheart is that's a cool name.
Yeah, it's a cool name. I don't get it. But this is worse. Knox. right? Is she going as Knox only?
First of all, when you look at somebody just named Knox, with all due respect, you ain't thinking about a woman, you're thinking about a dude.
Yeah.
Tegan Knox. Just call her by her name, Tegan Knox.
Tegan Knox is a good name.
Yes.
And even if you're gonna drop a name, drop Knox. Just call her Tegan. Why would you call her Knox? It's I'm sure they'll fix that.
That's just a knuckleheaded move. Like, it's just dumb.
All right, you have Sonya, who's not wrestling but should be, and hopefully she decides that she does want to wrestle.
I actually like Sonya Deville in her current role because it's a little bit heelish.
But there needs to be a payoff because she's just burying talent right now. She buried Liv Morgan on SmackDown the other day.
Yeah, she buried her. I agree.
I don't believe that's it. If you're trying to make me like Liv Morgan, I mean, I like her, but I don't believe in her anymore. That's it. She's a complete wuss. She's a coward to me. Like that's it. It's like she got pretty much bullied by Sonya, and if you're gonna do that, that's fine. But Sonya should put herself in this freaking match, and Liv should beat her ass during this match. Or
I think that there's going to be I think there's going to be a bigger payoff here because I think the Sonya Deville, Sonya Deville's character on SmackDown. I don't want to use the word character. Her persona on SmackDown, what she's doing is that obviously she's playing favorites, and she's obviously, at least in storyline, doesn't seem to be very much a fan of Liv Morgan. And Liv Morgan, the promo that she cut, basically saying, how come I'm not in this match, was stupid, especially knowing that it was done in the ring. Because of the fact that Sonya Deville looked at her and said, get out of my ring.
Yep.
That I didn't like. She could have been, get out of my office, and that would have made a little more sense because Liv could have just smiled at her and be like, all right, I'll listen to you because I got what I wanted. But when you as the authority figure who's not a wrestler, who the wrestler cannot get a response on you, and then you throw the wrestler out of the ring, you've basically emasculated them. And I understand these are women, but you've basically cut the chops off of Liv Morgan in that scenario. And Liv Morgan could have cut the promo she cut on Carmella. Who cares? Who cares? At that point, the issue should have been with Sonya Deville. So that was a mistake. That shouldn't have happened. Because again, Liv Morgan is the baby face. And if you want to make Liv Morgan, and again, I like Liv Morgan a lot. I think she's a pretty woman, good athlete. Do I think of her as a top tier star in the women's division in WWE? Absolutely not. I don't. I think of her as one in the group. And it's because of the fact that all of them, with the exception of, Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, Bayley, and, now the champions, Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, I don't see any of the other women. There is no real level. They're all kind of like in the same place. And that's bad because of the fact that if you're all perceived as being on the same level, then that means, unfortunately, that no matter who you beat, unless you beat the champions, doesn't matter as much. And that's kind of where, I kind of view the SmackDown women's roster right now.
Yeah, but my thing is, I truly believe that anyone can get over. And sometimes it's lightning in a bottle. Sometimes you get lucky, and sometimes, circumstances, whatever happens.
Sure.
But what you don't want to do is take away that opportunity for them to get over. And when you do that moment right there of just treating her like a complete coward, and it's somebody who's obviously a wrestler. We know she's a wrestler. We know Sonya can wrestle. It's not like it's Vince McMahon doing it. Or Stephanie. It's like and even if it was Vince McMahon or Stephanie,
but clearly as the audience, we know that they're the true owners and the true bosses of the company, and we understand that the wrestlers, no matter how much they may want to whoop their ass, they're not gonna do it.
Bullshit, right? Steve Austin 101 says, if your boss gets out of line and your boss is disrespectful and your boss is trying to screw you, you hit your boss with a stunner.
Well, but Steve Austin was the biggest star in the business at the time he was doing it.
Yeah, you know why, right? Because he was allowed to get over, you know.
But what I'm saying is, this is apples and oranges. With all due respect to Liv Morgan, not the same thing.
Not the same thing. I'm sorry. I get it. She's not Steve Austin. No babyface should be pushed around by authority figures. Absolutely not. Heels can be cowards all they want. It will not hurt them a bit.
If the authority figure is a heel, then yes.
No, you don't want to be. I will not get pushed around by an authority figure in real life. So how can I possibly respect Liv Morgan being pushed around by a fake general manager, assistant general manager, not even an owner? No, I'm sorry. I'm not being pushed around by nobody at my job. I will quit on the spot. Screw you. I will quit. I will quit right now. So I cannot respect the wrestler, even though it's a persona or character. I cannot respect your character if your character is being pushed around by another adult who does not respect you, and you're letting them disrespect you.
But understand something. Liv Morgan got what she wanted.
Doesn't matter. It's like selling your soul.
Now, again, I didn't like it either. But I can understand Liv Morgan walking away because she got what she wanted in that instance. She got put in the match. Was it stupid to have Sonya Deville do what she did and essentially emasculate her? Yes. Yes, it is. But that's a storyline loophole that's going to have to be fixed. And the way that it's going to have to be fixed is that if Sonya Deville shows her true colors and says that she's going after Liv Morgan, like there's something going on there, then she can go ahead and do that and physically interject herself, Sonya Deville can, and cost Liv Morgan the match, and then that's how you get to the point where then you get physicality between the two.
Then I still won't be okay with it. I'll be okay with most of the story, like her screwing her over and over and over and saying you can't get in, and just letting people in, letting random people in. Let's hope that this leads to physicality at least. I really hope so. Because
again, I didn't like it.
I believe
I would have written it much different.
I believe that anyone can get over, like I said earlier, and even Liv. To me, she can get over. To me, Liv can fight for a title one day if you do things right. But it has to be, you have to at least give her a chance. And I just think like they really cut her legs out right there. But whatever. Let's hope for the best. Where was I? So Shotzi, Sonya Deville, Tamina, Tegan Nox, Toni Storm, Zelina Vega, and this damn Zelina Vega debut. She goes away. People are excited to see where she ends up. So she ends up on SmackDown. That's cool. She loses in 2 minutes.
I thought the match went about 5, maybe, but it wasn't very long, but it wasn't 2 minutes.
It might have been 3 minutes of in-ring action, maybe. And it doesn't matter. Why is she losing? Like, I get it.
But I guess my question would be is why would you put if they bring Zelina Vega back, right? They bring Zelina Vega back and she's in the Money in the Bank match. They put in a match against Liv Morgan, who's basically the story they're telling with Liv Morgan is she's trying to get in the match and Sonya Deville is basically ignoring her while giving slots to other women. In the case of Zelina Vega, a woman who's not been in the WWE for the last 6 months. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense as much as it sucks, right? Because people like, and that I've said this before and I'll say it again. As much as I love Thea Trinidad, Zelina Vega as a wrestling personality, I'm not interested in seeing her wrestle, period. I'm just not. Well, I think that she's so fantastic as a manager. She's so fantastic in that role that when I see her wrestling, I'm like, can she wrestle? Yes, she's a good wrestler. She is. She knows what she's doing. But I don't care to see her wrestle as much as I care to see her be in the corner and do what she does as a manager because she's so great in that role.
Yes, but the money is in the ring. And
Not
yes,
really.
she was
Not
yes,
really.
yes.
If
There's
she
no
listen,
managers making money
if you're the
besides Paul
listen,
Heyman.
if you're the listen, if you're the manager of the main event talent and it's not the thing about Zelina Vega is that in that position as a manager, if she's going to manage like mid-card talent, then yes, you're right, the money's in the ring, right? But if you put her as the manager to so that I mean it's kind of hard to imagine because you're not going to put her with Roman Reigns or Bobby Lashley, but maybe the next level just underneath them. How great would she be to be able to elevate, another talent as a manager? Because first of all, she's gorgeous. You want to look at her. She can cut a fantastic promo. All the things that she does outside of the ring, whether it's physically getting involved in the match or all the physical faces, and she knows exactly where she needs to be at every single moment. She knows exactly where she needs to be. She's fantastic in that role. When she comes out and she wrestles, again, I see her and I'm like, all right, you're still gorgeous. I still want to look at you. You're a good wrestler. You have a lot of personality. The thing is that for me, personally, I've always said that she's so great as a manager that I have no interest in seeing her wrestle, especially knowing that as a wrestler, the thought process, and it goes back to what I've heard, James J. Dillon and Bobby Heenan say this many times about managing. You manage like a wrestler and you wrestle like a manager. So when you're managing, you are the badass, you're tough, you're intelligent, you know exactly how to maneuver all the pieces. But when you're in the ring and you have to wrestle against somebody, you're a coward. When she goes in there and she's been presented as a manager for the majority of her run in the WWE, and then she steps into the ring and has a competitive match against Liv Morgan, no matter how long or short it was, there's something about that I'm like, it would have been fine for Zelina Vega to come out and then Liv Morgan, gets to her, and all of a sudden Zelina Vega starts to cower away. But you're not going to do that because Zelina Vega is technically not a manager in this particular moment because she's got nobody to manage. So she has to wrestle like every other wrestler. Am I okay with the fact that she lost? Yes, I'm okay with that because the storyline that you're telling is that you're giving Liv Morgan more bricks to build her story on because Zelina Vega has already been put in the match. She just walked through the door and Sonya Deville put her in the match. So there's no reason for her to win. And it's not like Liv Morgan beat her flat with her finish. She beat her with like a roll up or a backslider. No, she actually, rolled her up and pulled her trunks. So Liv Morgan technically cheated. I'm like, that's fine. That's okay. I was fine with it because it's building bricks for Liv Morgan's story. You could say it's
bricks for someone who you don't believe in anyway. You've proven it today that you don't believe in Liv Morgan.
But yes, but what I'm saying is that as much as I don't believe in Liv Morgan as a major star, I don't see that with Zelina Vega as a wrestler.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about WWE don't believe in her.
No.
Or if they do believe in her, they're making it hard for me to believe that they believe in her.
Well, see, the thing about it is that in order to have those stories, I guess, tend to make sense is that with Liv Morgan, you'd want her to be, I don't want to say a more classic baby face, but meaning that she wins matches more convincingly. And if she's put in adverse positions, that she fights her way out and she fights and she scraps. And if Sonya Deville is, essentially, healing her, then, the way that you write the story is that Liv Morgan finds a way. The thing about it is that story could be told. Do I think WWE is putting that much intelligence and that much stock into it? No, I don't. I don't think they're putting that much intelligence into this particular storyline.
All right, let me finish my thought on Zelina Vega.
Sure. Sorry.
Yes, she's a good manager, potentially a great manager, and maybe she's not a great wrestler yet, or we don't know because she hasn't been given that many opportunities. However, that does not matter. That is irrelevant. When you have an opportunity, they had a fresh opportunity. She comes in fresh. People are interested in her. This is a fresh start, clean slate, regardless of what what anyone thinks of her as a manager, that no longer matters. She can always go back to managing. She's not ever gonna get these type of opportunities again. Maybe unless she's gonna get fired again and then rehired again. Like it's
I hope not.
This
Let's
is a
hope
huge opportunity, and to me, when you have a star like this, I would not do this in a million years. Bring somebody in, not make a big deal out of it, not make it a surprise. She could have been a surprise. To me, that would have been a big deal. Or I would have waited for fans potentially, or waited for something special, or whatever. However you want to do it, it could have been something fun and something interesting, and give her a chance to give yourself as a company a chance to make a new star. So to me, that's it. You bring her in, she loses in whatever 4 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is. And that's, whatever. You could have built to that. It could have been a bigger deal. You could have made her a way bigger star, just like this. First impression. She makes a huge first impression. If she's a surprise out of nowhere, and you see her oh shit, Zelina's back. Yes, Zelina's back. And you're excited. And then she cuts a crazy heel promo. And then eventually you kick her ass. Okay, that's a lot better than just she bring her in cold. There's no fans yet, and we're so close. Fans are right around the corner. Now, yep. I do think they do have surprises bigger than Zelina, so maybe they're saving. I mean, I'm assuming, we don't really know, right? Because Cena's supposed to be one, but maybe he can't do it. Or Brock, and maybe he can't do it. But I'm concerned that even when Cena might not even be a surprise. They might not even use it as. It's like they don't like surprises. They don't like surprising the fans. Fans love surprises, and you can make anyone look like a huge star if you treat it that way when they make this initial appearance. So you told me that she's not important. And then maybe she is. Okay, we're gonna give her a spot. That spot don't matter to me no more. She just lost like nothing. She's a nobody. That's what you told me. She loses like that, you're a nobody. Your debut, it's a re-debut essentially. To me, you lose like that, I don't care about you no more. That's it. That was
I'll listen. As much as I can agree with your disposition about, there could have been better ways to re-debut her. You're absolutely right. I'm not going to argue that. There are better ways to do it. Do I think that putting her in a match against Liv Morgan, knowing that Liv Morgan is going to win, is that the best thing to do? No, it's not. Now, if you save Zelina Vega for, let's just say best case scenario, they say, we're gonna hold this card in our back pocket until the day of the Money in the Bank match, and there's gonna be one mystery slot, and she's the one. Unless she wins the match, doesn't matter.
That's also true.
It's the same scenario, so it's kind of a bit of a catch-22 in that regard. Because if we're going to look at talents and say that if they're going to debut, the way to do it is that, they either got to make a big impression, or they have to win their match, or, whatever happens. Again, this was not the best way to do it. But under the circumstances, the way that the story was laid out, as much as I would not write it this way, but the way that they laid it out, I'm like, okay, is it the best? No, but it's certainly far from the most egregious thing the WWE has done in storytelling.
Well, that's only because they do a lot of egregious shit.
That
doesn't make it right.
Listen, but what I'm saying is that, I'm agreeing with you. All I'm saying is that there's levels to it, and in this particular instance, you're talking about, again, Liv Morgan is somebody who WWE has tried many times to kind of get her over. They don't know how to do it correctly. And with Zelina Vega, I think that Zelina Vega is somebody who, as much as you might look at it and say, oh, you made her a nobody, I don't really think so. I think that Zelina Vega's, her ultimate role is not going to be as a wrestler. It's going to be as a manager. And that's the reason why I think that ultimately what they're doing right now, again, I don't like it, but I can live with it under those circumstances.
We're forced to live with everything they give us, right? But
no, there are things that they give us that I can just flat out poo-poo all over it and say, nah, I'm good, next, and just don't watch. that's something that I saw and I was like, not in love with it. It boils down to there's going to have to be a receipt at some point, and the receipt's going to have to come in the fact that Zelina Vega, leaving Liv Morgan, face down in the middle of the ring at some point to build towards something later. Zelina Vega, and again, the fact is that Zelina Vega she lost. She basically lost trying to do what she wanted to do to Liv Morgan, which is cheat. Referee caught her, and then Liv Morgan, reversed the move, did the exact same thing, pulled the trunks. Referee didn't see it, so it's basically Liv Morgan one-upping her. It's not like Liv Morgan beat her with her finish. It's not Zelina Vega. Zelina Vega was beaten, and yes, to a certain degree, it doesn't make her look bad. Yeah, I can agree with you. It makes her look bad. But do I think that it's the worst thing I've seen? No, far from it.
Yes, it's not the worst thing, but you're not giving the company. It's like they don't want stars. I swear, it's like they don't want stars. Give yourself an opportunity to make a star. That's all I'm saying.
They don't.
Why not? Or do they think this is good?
It's not. But the thing is that if I had to think of the philosophy, it's almost as if I don't know. It's weird because you're right about give people an opportunity to be stars. I think that in this case we're kind of looking for a needle in a haystack, because with all due respect, and again I say this with these two women, I don't think either one of them are going to be, as wrestlers, I don't think either one of them are going to be pulling any major coin for the WWE as wrestlers. Zelina Vega as a manager, yes, and Liv Morgan under a different circumstance, working with one of the higher echelon stars in WWE, yes, she can get over as a wrestler. Zelina Vega, I don't think, I don't want to say there's no chance, because that's not true. There's always a chance, but I think the Zelina Vega's money in wrestling is going to be as a manager.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. What I do know is that fans fall in love with wrestlers, and wrestlers can get over when you give them a chance to get over. Zelina is being presented as a wrestler right now. If they don't want her to be a wrestler, then don't make her a wrestler. But if you're going to present me with a wrestler, I'm going to treat them like the rest of the wrestlers. I'm going to judge them like the rest of the wrestlers.
Yep.
And I think Zelina has, her character alone is so strong that her wrestling doesn't even matter. And there's a lot of wrestlers like that they're wrestling in WWE. Your wrestling doesn't need to be that great. You don't have to be AJ Styles to get over here. Like Braun Strowman got over because his presence and his size and his character, and he found what worked for him.
And he worked like a big man. He learned how to work like a big man, and when he figured that out, that's when he started getting over.
I don't even think he got over because of his work. He got over because they in storyline, he's over here breaking shit and flipping cars, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, he flipped the car!" And he got over.
That's called working like a big man.
I mean, he's flipping a car. He's not working a match, right? So it's like he's doing things, outside of the ring. His character is doing things that are like exciting, and you're like, "Oh my God, I think I want to see Braun as the champ." And then they wait 2 years when he's not over, and then they put the belt on. Anyway,
now you're sidetracking.
All right, let's just go to this match. So, are there any more qualifying matches left? Do you know? There's 2 spots left, but I don't know.
In all honesty, and I gotta say this with all honesty, I don't know. I'm presuming the answer is yes, but I don't know offhand. I know that the people that are in the match, I believe, obviously we have Liv Morgan, you have Zelina Vega, I believe Natty Neidhart's in the match. I believe that Naomi's
Natty's not officially in the match. So it's Zelina, Liv, Nikki Cross, Alexa Bliss, Naomi, and Asuka, with 2 spots left.
Wow. I don't understand why Alexa Bliss is in this match.
So yeah, I'm trying to check WWE.com to see if they are previewing Raw and see if there's a qualifying match.
Yeah,
but
I'm not sure. But right now, just looking at the field to this match, I'm not really looking forward to it. I'm not looking forward to this match, unfortunately.
No. Well, who
No.
do you think is gonna win? Or is there somebody not in the match that you would rather see in it?
See, the thing is for me is that I would have probably been okay in a situation like this if you were going. See, because WWE introducing all the new NXT talent over to SmackDown, I would have. This would have probably been a good slot for Io Shirai.
Who says that she won't be? They can throw her in
Well,
there.
I mean, listen, she and Zoe Stark won the NXT tag titles,
Oh yeah.
this
I don't
past
think that
week.
matters, but
So, but what I'm saying is, well, yeah, that's a separate thing altogether. But the reality is that with all the it seems like the exodus of the female talent on NXT, and listen, congratulations to all three of them. In all honesty, I think it's a good move for all three because the Shotzi Blackheart would have been the one person I would have been okay with staying on NXT. I think that Toni Storm, her coming back has been a little bit stale, and which is weird to me because when she came back in the new heel persona, I thought that she looked like a badass, and she's she should have been positioned much better, but for some reason it just didn't work out. And for Tegan Nox, it makes sense to bring her up to the main roster because of the fact that she's already gotten 2 blown knees, and we hope, we always hope and pray that your health, you stay healthy and you're able to compete. But right now, I mean, she might be one more knee injury away from being done. So in this particular case, be exposed to the largest possible audience and get yourself over. So that's a good thing. But I would have probably been for Io Shirai in this match because I think that the Money in the Bank ladder match lends itself perfectly to Io Shirai because of all her skill sets and all the high flying things she could do. She would win the briefcase, and then she'd automatically be in line for a title shot. And then from there, you can tell the story of Io Shirai and just have her beat people left and right. But with the field that's there now, I mean, I know Nikki Cross doing the superhero gimmick is, it's a nice it's a nice change for her because she's always played these darker, more wacky, crazy characters. So to kind of play a superhero, the modern day spinoff of Molly Holly, I think is kind of cool. Alexa Bliss, again, with this particular gimmick that she's playing, anytime I see Alexa Bliss now, I'm not interested. Like this particular iteration of Alexa Bliss, I'm not interested in seeing anymore. I'm just really not. She's very committed to the role, and she does a fantastic job with it. But when you translate that to wrestling, and knowing that she's 5'0" and 100 pounds, and yet she's doing all these things, and everybody's doing all these wacky selling jobs, it seems stupid and ridiculous, and I'm not okay with it. Asuka's been the perennial all-star, but we been there, done that. Where she'll do great. You can always insert her whenever you want to. Naomi, somebody who all her skills and her beauty and her talent and all those things that she has, for some reason they have not in all these years, that package has not been able to come together in a very convincing top level performer for the WWE, and she has all the tools for it, but for some reason it just has not come together. No matter what has been done, it's always something missing. So I don't see Naomi winning. I don't know who else you mentioned in that group.
Asuka,
Zelina
Naomi,
Vega. I've already talked about Zelina Vega. Again, Liv Morgan. Right now in this particular bunch that you just mentioned, Liv Morgan seems like the person that's going to win. Although it might be Alexa Bliss, just based on how she's been positioned. But
yeah,
the way that she's been positioned, Alexa Bliss looks like the one that will win. But it's all all the things that I've said about the Fiend in terms of the way that he's presented and how he wrestles, the same thing I feel about Alexa Bliss. This particular gimmick it doesn't lend itself for wrestling. It doesn't lend itself very well because of the fact that Alexa Bliss, if she would have been the Fiend's, she's Harley Quinn to the Joker kind of thing. It works out really well. And she can be the representative. She can be she's basically speaking on behalf of the Fiend. The problem is that if the man behind the Fiend is not ready to come back yet, is not ready to wrestle, whether it's physical injury or otherwise, and he's not ready to come back, what are you going to do with Alexa Bliss? You're not going to put her on ice. Alexa Bliss is, she is one of the top performers in the female roster from the perspective of, she has a lot of credibility, she has a lot of notoriety and a lot of equity. It's just that in the particular iteration and gimmick that she's playing right now, I just don't want to see it. And if you put the Money in the Bank briefcase on her, now she's going to be chasing either Rhea Ripley or Bianca Belair, or who knows, maybe presumably Raquel Gonzalez. I doubt it'll go to NXT, but we have to at least throw that a possibility as well. Those matches would make no sense. They would not be good. And that's the issue that I kind of have with with Alexa Bliss right now, is that I just don't want to see it. I just don't. And Liv Morgan would probably be the one that could win, but if the WWE doesn't believe in her, and I don't think you and I believe in her as a top flight main eventer at this moment, unless you're going to use it as a means to build her up and take it seriously, where do we go?
What I would do is have Sonya Deville. There's 2 spots. It looks like the spots are SmackDown spots because there's 4 Raw competitors, 2 SmackDown competitors as of now. Okay. I don't know if they don't need to stick to this. And obviously, if someone is returning, like a Becky used to be on Raw, but she's returning from maternity. She's been gone for almost a year.
At this point, you can put her on.
Yeah, you can
put her wherever you
want.
SmackDown.
Exactly. Yeah, when somebody comes back after that long, you can put them wherever you want. So she can represent SmackDown, and she would probably be a good person to win.
She would be the person to win if she was to be in this match.
Yeah. She shouldn't be in the match if she's not going to win, unless you have something even better, which I don't think it gets much better right now.
You're if you're going to put, that's like putting a gimmick on top, a hat on top of a hat on top of a hat, meaning the Money in the Bank match is already a hat in the gimmick. That's the gimmick. That's one hat. Then you put Becky Lynch. That's the second hat. And if you're going to throw in a third thing, that's a hat on top of a hat on top of a hat. No.
Yeah, well.
No, that's just.
No. I don't know. If she's in the match, she probably should win. But there's obviously no guarantees here. But she doesn't have to be in the match. So I think. Barring injury, like an actual injury that she suffers in the match, there's no way I'd book anybody else to win. Yeah, I would probably book her to win too. I think that'll be the most exciting thing. But I'm also about making new stars. Becky Lynch doesn't need a Money in the Bank thing.
No, she does not.
That doesn't mean you don't do it, because I don't
that's
like to overthink.
That's why you wouldn't put her in the match. You wouldn't put her in
I would not put her in the match. I think you can have her show up to Raw after Money in the Bank and get in some, or SmackDown, whatever, and get in someone's face, and that'll be just fine.
Sure.
I think if I am them, based on what they've given me, I put Sonya in this match. Final competitor, day of. I'm putting myself in this match, by the way, and I have her win. And I probably have her win that title too, because I'm about making stars. And then hopefully you book Liv strong enough, and this all comes back around in the future. Let's say 12 months from now, and then Liv could be the one to beat her.
Okay, I get it, and that in a vacuum makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
However, the caveat to this is the current champions, Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. WWE has a hell of a lot more stock in the two of them than they do in Sonya Deville and Liv Morgan. WWE has a lot more invested in those two. So
yeah, that's fine. That doesn't mean they can't lose matches.
If Sonya Deville, let's use your scenario. let's use your scenario. I actually kind of like it. Let's use your scenario. Let's say that Sonya Deville puts herself in the match and she actually wins. Good. So she now basically pulled the wool over everybody's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
The Raw girls are going to get no response because they're on Raw, but the SmackDown women they'll be able to get their chance for their receipt. Mm-hmm. And that's where the story with Liv Morgan goes in. Mm-hmm. Do I think that Sonya Deville beats Bianca Belair? No. Because what ends up happening is with Bianca Belair is that if Bianca Belair is going to lose the title, it has to be to somebody who's above her. Sonya Deville, no, not right now. And the thing is that if Sonya Deville were to beat Bianca Belair to become the SmackDown Women's Champion, again, this goes to the whole thing about the whole project that they're doing with Bianca Belair. That's not going to elevate Sonya Deville. That's actually going to bring Bianca Belair down.
I don't think so.
It's not going because Bianca Belair is not over yet. As a standalone, does not need the 4 horsewomen as her opponent star. She's not a standalone yet.
Right.
If and when Bianca Belair gets there, then your scenario makes sense.
Okay. I don't think Bianca's there yet. But booking, she's been booked strong. Everything has gone well except for this Bayley injury. And she was probably going to win this match. And she's still not going to be 4 horsewomen level because she isn't 4 horsewomen level. Regardless of booking, she has to become as good as they are. And who knows when that's going to be. And that's fine.
And the caveat to that is that having her hold on to the title as long as they can is going to be instrumental, because right now, sometimes you can say that the person makes the title or the title makes the person. I think in this particular case, the title makes the person. It does. The Bianca Belair being the champion right now is actually the most beneficial for her at the moment. And I think for the WWE long term, it makes sense to keep her as the champion, not because she's super dominant or whatever have you. It's just because having her as the champion puts her at a certain level that will help in the development of making her the star that I'm certain that WWE wants for her and for Rhea Ripley, to get them to that 4 horsewomen level, because I think that both of them surely have the ability to get there. And both of them have the admiration and the respect of the fans. It's just that the booking hasn't been great since they've been on the main roster. Bianca has been booked far better than Rhea Ripley, circumstances, notwithstanding. But this is where I'd say that for the Sonya Devilles of the world, as much as I like your scenario, I think it would probably be one of those moments to where you use the briefcase as a means to build Sonya Deville up and make her bigger and better. And if you bring Liv Morgan in for the ride and other women for the ride along with her, that's great because they can all kind of come up together. But to take the title off of Bianca Belair, I'd be a little fuzzy about that.
Hear me out.
Okay.
Let's say, all right, Bianca keeps the title. She's champion, and you have her feud, whatever. She's feuding with Bayley, but Bayley's gone. Okay, Carmella's next.
That's going to be a one and done type thing for this.
Yeah, probably. It'll probably be one and done. But Carmella's always going to be around that. Carmella is right underneath that first level. So she's high second level, in my opinion, and she's always going to be around the title. She'll probably won't win it, but she'll be around, and you can always throw her into the mix whenever you need
absolutely. She, yeah, I can buy that.
All right. So based on who's there now, this is the problem. They run out of girls quick. So there's nobody here. There's nobody on SmackDown for Bianca to feud with.
I mean, I disagree.
There's the problem.
I disagree because I think that with the influx of the talent that's coming from NXT, because I'm presuming that Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart are going to be a tag team, which I don't know why. Maybe no. Let me take that back. You need to have tag teams because then Tamina and Natty are going to be holding on to the titles forever because they got no opponents. But I think you got a built-in story with Toni Storm. Toni Storm would be a fantastic opponent for Bianca Belair. It's just,
Well, here's what I mean by opponent. Based on your thinking, you want Bianca to hold the belt and be elevated, hopefully, like by feuding with or having matches, big matches against people who are better than her
and winning.
My idea, although I don't know who, and I don't think it should be Becky, only because Becky is going to come back and it's going to be Stone Cold Steve Austin. And
correct.
You cannot turn her heel and it'll be stupid. Let's not fight it. The crowd is going to love her. Let's let the crowd love her.
Correct.
So I would even keep Becky
on Raw.
I would keep on Raw, maybe go over there. Go to Raw and figure that out over there. Keep her away from Bianca.
Yep.
Because she can't help Bianca right now.
She's gonna hurt her, actually.
Yes. Let's find somebody who can get enough heat and be a big threat and bring them to SmackDown, and it'd be a huge win. And it would have to be, it could even be like a Rhea Ripley. I think she's good enough. It could be a Charlotte.
So somebody who I would probably nominate in this role, believe it or not, would be Nia Jax.
Nia Jax would be good too. The only thing is I want Bianca to get one more big win at Mania. And you know what? Nia Jax might be good for it because she's, like I always say with Nia Jax, because of her size, she can beat anyone on any given night, and the person she beats does not look bad because they just lost to someone who's 100 pounds more than them. Sometimes 150 pounds more.
Like I said, twice their size.
Yeah, twice their size, and that's
literally
fine. So let's say Bianca beats Nia at Mania in a very competitive match, and Bianca is dead at the end of that match, and that's when you get the cash in, and you basically screw Bianca out of the title at Mania, right?
You could do that sooner. It doesn't have to be WrestleMania. Do it sooner.
Well, yeah, you can screw her out of the title sooner. But it can be sooner, of course.
If you're gonna do it, you don't want to do it at WrestleMania because that would probably be where she would get the title back. If they wanted to do
I don't want her to get the title back that fast. I want her to beat Nia. I want the cash in to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I want like a 4 to 6 month run for Sonya with the title. Then I want her to lose to Liv if they do the work. But if Liv doesn't get there, then you can introduce 4 horsewomen, Sasha, whoever you want to beat her, But I prefer to make another star. And if we're gonna go with this stories are important. And when you're showing me this, right? I'm expecting you to execute. And if you execute the way I think or hope that you want to execute, then that's kind of what I want to see. Okay, what's the payoff here? If you're gonna have Liv Morgan looking like she's crying on television and almost embarrassing her, so she needs to get revenge for that, and it needs to be a big deal.
Well,
but if you can't get her to be a believable main eventer by SummerSlam next year, then that's fine. We can always go to hopefully a Ronda or Sasha or somebody, and then we just bring the biggest stars, and then we just forget about Liv.
Well, I mean, and again, I mean, this is, it kind of bothers me to say this, but this is where we start talking about, when I say that there are levels to this, and what I mean by that is, listen, the reality is that any professional wrestler that gets to a mainstream promotion anywhere in the world, mainstream television promotion, and in this case, we're talking about WWE, all of the men and women who are in the WWE are all fantastic performers in their own right. But now we're basically comparing them to each other. And the reality is that when you take a look at Sonya Deville and Liv Morgan, with all due respect to both of them, there are several levels above them in the WWE women's division.
I don't think it's several. Like, I don't think Bianca is that much better than Liv Morgan. I think she has more obvious
the way that she's
potential.
presented.
Yes, I know that.
Understand. That's what I mean by levels. I'm not talking about in-ring skill. I'm talking about the way they're presented. Because if WWE was to present Liv Morgan and Sonya Deville the same way they've presented Bianca Belair, the question becomes is not a matter of, can they go in the ring and perform? It becomes a matter, does the audience buy it?
Yes.
And the thing is, if the audience doesn't buy it, the in-ring skill means nothing.
Absolutely.
Because if the audience doesn't buy it, then it's dead in the water, right from the word go. And I think that this is where, and I'm not going to say that it would be dead in the water, because Liv Morgan and Sonya Deville have not really been given a proper shake. I think Liv Morgan with the Riot Squad, had more of a shake than Sonya Deville has. I think this is the first time that we've seen Sonya Deville in presented well on WWE television in this, general manager role that she has on SmackDown. And I think that that's a good thing, because it's kind of reintroducing her in a way that she doesn't have to wrestle. She can cut promos, get herself over if she's going to be a heel. So then if and when an in-ring return happens, you got something to work with. So that's a positive. I think with Liv Morgan, WWE has done, a documentary piece on her. She's been, with the Riot Squad, and, they've always been presented very well. Whether they've won or lost, it didn't matter. It's just a matter that it was always presented. And I think that Liv Morgan, she's the last one remaining of the trio still in the WWE. Do I think that she should be presented well? Yes. I think that she should be given an opportunity to sink or swim at the next level. If she's able to swim, God bless her. Keep her there and keep it moving. And if she sinks, well, then we know it's like, all right, this is your level. This is your level. And until you learn a new hold, this is where you're at. And that's okay. That's okay, because, sometimes we may want to elevate people, and it's either the performer, the wrestler doesn't rise to the occasion of that level. In some cases, it's a matter of, maybe too soon. There's things, prerequisites that need to be done. But I think that for both of these women, Sonya Deville and Liv Morgan, an opportunity should be extended, and a very good one. But again, the way that they're presented currently, Bianca Belair's got several levels above them, just on the way that they're presented.
No, absolutely. And that's why I'm telling a story or booking my way to hopefully their superstardom, right? It's not like they're not there yet, obviously, but however, and if you give me all the women of WWE and you told Victor, you're in charge of the women's division in all three brands, you got to put them in the brand you want. If you want to turn this person heel or baby, that you choose.
Move them any way you need. Move the pieces any way you want to.
These rosters would not look anything like they do now. I assure you.
That's
fine. The people I would probably choose to be working the main event scene would probably be a lot different than, or not a lot different, but it'd be a little bit different than what we see now. And the people getting opportunities will probably be different. But based on what they've given me, in my opinion, there is a clear opportunity here with Sonya first. And because Sonya has pretty much all her heat is on Liv, then that's more opportunity, right? It's like, okay, Sonya has annoyed me in a good way. She's made me dislike her in a good way, character-wise.
Yep.
She's getting heat that's like, somebody needs to slap her.
It's good heat.
Good heat, yeah. So it's like, okay, somebody needs to beat her up, or have a match with her, slap her,
Someone
do
to
something.
straighten her out.
She needs a receipt, yeah. So okay, so that's fine. So now because of that, there's enough heat or interest from me that I'm like, she should throw herself in this match, which is way more heat. And then if she wins it, it's even more. And then when she wins the title, it's even more. So there's a clear story that can be told, right? And that's just based on the television you've given me. they probably have no plans to go in this direction. But that's what you've given me. You've presented a potential opportunity. And because of that, because you presented her that way and all the heat was on Liv, now I kind of want to see Liv be the one to put her in her place when the time is right.
Well,
so
yeah,
that's what they've given me, and that's why I'm picking Liv and Sonya. I probably wouldn't have done it that way myself, but because they've set up the story, now this is what I want. This is where I want it to go, and that's why I kind of put that together there.
Okay, I got you. It's just a matter that, again, I don't see, WWE looking at Sonya Deville and Liv Morgan as top tier talents at the moment. I don't know if they're viewing them as the top stars of the future, but I agree it does behoove the company. It always behooves any wrestling promotion to try to make as many stars as possible. And if you have the opportunity, you might as well give it a shot. If it fails, if it fails, then you tried and it didn't work. But if you don't try at all, then you're gonna fail because you miss 100% of the swings you don't take. So, from that perspective, go for it. Let's see what happens.
All right. So quick recap. I have Drew McIntyre winning the men's challenging, calling Bobby out, saying at SummerSlam, I want you, Bobby, and I got him winning. That's what I think they're gonna do. That's not what I would do, probably, or maybe it is. I don't know. I feel like when this first came together, I feel like I wanted Drew to get his belt back at SummerSlam, so maybe that's what they're thinking too. And then I have this is the shot in the dark for the women. Sonya Deville, last minute entrant, winning the Money in the Bank. Sounds crazy, but I kind of want to see it. So what's your recap?
I will say that in the men's Money in the Bank match, God, I'm gonna probably go with Seth Rollins winning. Although I hate going in that direction. I would like to see Big E win, but I don't think he will. If Drew McIntyre wins, I think that we don't need to see another Bobby Lashley match. At that point, he needs to move to SmackDown and chase after Roman Reigns. Like that, because we've already seen Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley already too many times.
That's why I said if he does challenge Bobby, it's to win. He cannot lose to Bobby anymore. He just can't.
Yeah, and that anyway. So I'm gonna take Seth Rollins begrudgingly.
Which makes sense because he's the only heel. He's the only true heel in the match because Morrison is like a 50-50 almost heel. You kind of want him to turn
comedy guy. I'm sorry, Morrison's a comedy guy. Owens is a babyface. Big E's a babyface. Ricochet.
Babyface.
Nakamura's a babyface. Ricochet's a babyface.
Everyone's a babyface.
That'll make me see. Looking on the face of it, this makes no sense.
Trust me, when I saw that, I was like, you're pointing us in an obvious direction of it's either Seth because he's the heel and heels usually win. So Seth has like a 75% chance of winning based on the people in the match. And then to me, Drew has the other 25. Or you could give him 20.
We were going to do the Scott Steiner math there for a second.
No Steiner math. Who was your woman's choice again? I think you said Alexa.
Yeah, and I say it begrudgingly because I don't even want her in the match, to be honest with you. I'm going by the participants that are currently booked. So by the time we actually get to the show, this might be different. I love your idea of Sonya Deville because in all honesty, I think it would make a lot of sense. But right now, I'm going to have to go with Alexa Bliss begrudgingly. Because I don't want her in the match, period. But of all the participants currently in the match, she's the only one that makes sense to win.
All right, so hopefully we'll be able to do a recap, a review of the show. Hopefully I get to watch it right as it's happening and I don't have to wait a day or something. Hopefully nothing comes up, but I'm going to try to watch. Also, Slammiversary is on Saturday. So I'm gonna try to watch that too. I don't think I have anything going on, so I'll be busy this weekend.
All right. Well, for all of our fans, find us on Instagram and the Twitter machine at the Wrestlebros. TheWrestlebros. For Vic, I'm Lou. Deuces.